Alright, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the most important fights on UFC 281, and we're starting it off with Dominic Reyes versus Ryan Spann. I'm going to go with Dominic Reyes. He is much better than Ryan Spann. I just can't pick Ryan Spann because this guy looks awful. He's good for light heavyweight because of that power, and he's so ridiculously huge. Like 6'5", and he's still fucking swole at that weight class. But then he got easily handled by Anthony Smith, man. And I do think that Dominic Reyes is a much better striker and more accurate striker than Anthony Smith. But to be fair, the ground game is similar. Same for Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann can compete on the ground, so that's why it makes him a good overall light heavyweight. It's not like he's some Ngannou or pre-Miocic rematch Ngannou where all he had was power. But Dominic Reyes, he could stuff all the takedowns, and he's just so much more sharper on the feet. I know there's this lingering question is, how is he going to be when he just came back after a long layoff, especially after 2 nasty KOs? But I think it was a good choice by him to, reset himself and take a long time off, because mentally, when he got robbed against John Jones, imagine you beat the best fighter of all time, or probably the second best fighter of all time, for the championship, and you just got robbed. That had to mentally shake you, and especially it should have shaken or shook Dominic Reyes. And then, the 2 losses, even worse, just losing in general, especially the way he did. But I do think that he did take the right action to take some time off, and he's still in his prime. He's 32, so I do trust him to come back, not really shaken by anything. I think we're going to get a good Dominic Reyes coming into the octagon. And, you look at the striking. His striking is much more clean than Ryan Spann. He also had like a similar, you could kind of, I know it's kind of disrespectful, but you could kind of compare Ryan Spann to Yuri Prochazka's striking. They kind of get a little too overly aggressive, but Yuri is much more in line, much more accurate, just more durable. He's just better overall than Ryan Spann, even on the feet, like purely on the feet. Reyes in that fight was able to show that he can fire under pressure and pick his shots against a huge pressure fighter against Yuri. Even cracked Yuri at one point, made him shoot for a takedown after he got wobbled. And I'm going to be honest, if Spann eats that shot, he's going out cold, okay? Or getting dropped for sure and not being able to defend himself intelligently. So I got the former light heavyweight champion of the world, Dominic Reyes, by knockout in the first round. Riddell versus Moicano. Both guys are coming off losses or they got hurt badly, and it was against top 10 fighters, so you can't really knock on them for, losing to those guys. Top 10, come on, it's lightweight. But close fight. But, Brad Riddell's game is kickboxing. He would mix in the wrestling too sometimes, but he hasn't shown that he's effective at it. And Moicano, I think he's the better grappler, so I don't think he's going to be able to mix up the takedowns against Moicano, because Moicano is really good on the ground, really good jiu-jitsu, good wrestling himself. And I do think Moicano could hold his own on the feet, or not even hold his own. He could win on the feet. He's a really good straight hitter. I think he's longer than Brad Riddell. I know Brad Riddell has good kicks, but same for Moicano. I do think the danger factor is there for Riddell to finish Moicano, but I used to think that Moicano was easily finishable by like any decent power puncher, but the statement is actually false, because he actually showed that he had a good chin against RDA. Plus, when you look at the people who knocked him out, it's really big power punchers. And you could say, oh my god, he got knocked out by featherweights. He was draining his brain. Makes it more easier to get knocked out. That's why bigger guys, or when you move down weight class, you're more susceptible to getting knocked out. And in this weight class, I feel like this is a good weight class for him. This is like the perfect range for his brain and his size against other lightweights. I know Fiziev TKO'd him, but that was an early stoppage. And it's not like he's getting flatlined like James Vick out there. So he has a pretty decent chin, and I feel like he's able to also crack Riddell himself. And Riddell has shown that he's getting cracked by a lot of straight punches, and Moicano's really good at that. And if Moicano did have to, or is losing the striking, he could fall back on his wrestling or his jiu-jitsu and try mix things up from there. And I do think that Moicano's going to win. And I'm going to choose Moicano by submission in the 3rd round. All right, on to the main card. Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles. Honestly, I think Moicano should have got this fight against Dan Hooker instead of Puelles. But whatever. Good. it was good for Dan Hooker because he does finally get a step down in competition. Because if he took on Moicano, that would have been another tough lightweight matchup for him. And he's on a losing streak right now. But glad that he took this matchup instead, finally stepped down. So I got Dan Hooker winning this fight because I am not sold on Claudio Puelles' stand-up game. It's not that good. I know people were saying that he's been training Muay Thai for quite a while now, but it doesn't really look that good. And I just know that Dan Hooker is, to be honest, levels above him in the striking department. On the ground, though, I will give the edge to Claudio Puelles, but only in the jiu-jitsu. The wrestling isn't really there on the same level of his jiu-jitsu, and I do think Dan Hooker is able to survive with his jiu-jitsu and be able to stuff the takedowns, even wrestle offensively against Claudio Puelles. But I do think he's going to keep it standing, and I just think he's the much better striker on the feet. He's a really good striker. So many weapons that he has, really long, and he's just he can hurt people. Dan Hooker's a dangerous striker on the feet. He can hurt Puelles. I do see him putting him away. And Dan Hooker's actually pretty durable himself. Or at least I think he is. He should be. Even though he's been getting knocked out. And yeah, he's been getting knocked out. And, submitted by Islam, but that's not really a damaging fight. But Michael Chandler is the most explosive lightweight of all time in history. Got caught with a big punch and didn't go out cold immediately. Still was trying to fight back. Or not fight back, but he was still conscious, trying to cover up. And then Arnold Allen, going down to featherweight wasn't a good move for Dan Hooker because, his brain is just being dehydrated again, which is going to make him more susceptible to getting knocked out. And he was still standing. So I still believe in the durability of Dan Hooker if Claudio Puelles somehow manages to hit him with a really big shot. I got Dan Hooker in this fight. Second round knockout or TKO. Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez. This is sad because, Edgar's going to retire after this fight. But the thing that sucks about this fight is because it's 50-50. He could retire on a loss. And, it sucks seeing legends like this just retire on a loss. And he's fighting a freaking young up-and-comer in his freaking prime, especially in bantamweight. But like I said before, really close fight. Both guys can counter each other's game because, Frankie Edgar on the feet is predominantly a boxer. So that's going to help Chris Gutierrez land his low kicks, which is probably his best technique in his entire game. And that's what he's known for. Really good low kicks, calf kicks. And he can score that all night on Frankie Edgar. But I do think Frankie Edgar is going to wrestle him, obviously, because that's Frankie Edgar's whole game. Mainly synergizing his boxing and his wrestling. But when his boxing doesn't work, he'll just fall on his wrestling. Even though it's not going to be as effective, if he can synergize both, he can still just fall on that wrestling and control Chris Gutierrez. And that's something Chris Gutierrez has showed that he's kind of vulnerable to. He's not I'm not saying he's like a fish out of water. He doesn't know how to get up and stuff. I mean, obviously we all seen him. He does get up, but I just think that Frankie Edgar is just that different wrestler and just that grinding type that can keep you on the ground. And if you do get up along the fence, he can just keep grinding you against the fence and just work you. And just being busy, winning the rounds. And I do think he's going to be able to hold Chris Gutierrez for majority of the rounds and, edge out these rounds. So I do believe Frankie Edgar is going to be winning this. I'm going to go with Frankie Edgar, 29-28 decision. Extremely close fight. I'm rooting for Edgar on this one. All right, finally, on to the feature fight, the people's main event. Probably the highest skilled matchup. Yes, I'm saying it. It's going to be the highest skilled matchup on this card, even over the main events, because this is lightweight. And, you can talk about the striking all you want, but these guys can grapple too, much better than the two main event guys. But yeah, Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Now, this fight is really hard to predict because I mainly just look at Chandler's skill set. He has the ability to just take people down and just pin them against the fence. Kind of like how Islam and Khabib does it. But he full guard camps people and just kills time. That's his best way of beating guys who are better than him on the feet. He could have done that to Justin Gaethje, but then he didn't do it. And that's the thing. His fight IQ is what the hell? His fight IQ is not there, and he's an entertainer. And that style where he just kills time, especially when he gasses on the feet or starts losing on the feet, takes people down, keeps them against the fence, and the fans are going to hate it, including myself. I'm going to hate it too, but that's his best way of beating Dustin Poirier. I just feel like he's not going to do it. He's a crowd pleaser. But at the same time, I feel like he is gonna do it because he was saying that he wants to win so badly. And plus, this is probably his last shot at, getting more top 5 matchups. Because if he loses this one, they should give him an up-and-comer. And I know these top 5 guys do not want to take on up-and-comers. None of these guys. Justin, Dustin. I mean, to be fair, I get it. They've worked so hard to get to this spot to just start making money. But I'm sorry. The sport shouldn't work like this. That's why, fighter pay, come on. But, another topic for another video. But I have a feeling that he might either do it too late, where he's hurt and he's not able to hold Dustin Poirier down, because Dustin Poirier he does have decent takedown defense. Plus, he likes to use the fence to get up, and he's actually really good at it. Or I feel like he just stays on the feet with Dustin Poirier, which I think he shouldn't do. But he does have a really good chance at beating Dustin Poirier on the feet. Especially, I just keep looking at Dustin Poirier's high guard, and I feel like Chandler can exploit it because he's someone that actually goes to the body and actually tries to hurt you to the body with his right straight, even though mainly he's setting up that left overhand or left hook or that right overhand. He likes to go to the body, and when he actually goes to everything he throws, 110%, which is also a bad trait about his stand-up because he could overextend and get himself caught, especially with a dangerous counter-striker, Dustin Poirier. I think he's probably the best counter-striker in the lightweight division. But that right straight to the body is, if I'm Chandler, that's all I'm focusing on. And if I'm his coaches, I'm telling him, right straight to the body, right straight to the body. Feint upwards, get him, draw that guard out, because that guard, that high elbow guard that even Arnold Allen used against Calvin Kattar, it's just so exploitable. It's like a really heavy bias on protecting their head, and it's much harder for them to come back, to bring their guard back down to their body. Especially when both of those guys, Arnold Allen and Dustin Poirier, are both southpaws. Their liver is right there. Their livers are in the front of their stance with their lead leg, because the right side of their body is in front. And Dustin Poirier has a wide body. Maybe his wide body could just eat those shots, but man, I felt like Oliveira kind of showed the blueprint on how to beat Dustin Poirier and go to the bottom. I know Khabib beat him too, and all the other guys, but prime Poirier and not using because Khabib's style is unique to his own and unique to Islam. No one else can do it. But the thing that Oliveira did was something that literally every lightweight in the world could do, just working the body and the tactics that Oliveira used. I know that Chandler doesn't really throw knees and kicks, but he can threaten with his power in his hands. He is the most powerful lightweight we've ever seen. He could threaten. He could have the respect of Dustin Poirier of just feinting, drawing reactions out of him, and just shooting a nice right straight down to the body, right to the liver side. And I feel like he could slow down Poirier and that could start opening up shots to the head, or he could just finish him with a body shot or whatever. I think Chandler could do it. But he's the dumbest fighter I've ever seen in my life. He has so much talent, or has good skill, especially his talent. He's insanely powerful. Gotta be on roids, but probably everyone is. So, but come on, dude. The IQ, it's a 50-50 fight. I'm not saying Poirier has no chance. I do think that Poirier on the feet, I think Poirier's just gonna beat him on the feet because the IQ just isn't there for Michael Chandler. So I'm gonna go with Dustin Poirier. Decision 29-28. I think this is going to be a war. It's probably going to go back and forth, and I think Chandler might crowd please at the beginning and start wrestling too late. And Dustin Poirier can drop this guy. He can hurt him. Dustin Poirier has good power, and I wouldn't say he's that much better of a counter striker than Justin Gaethje, but I do think he is better. So I think he can land much better shots and just win overall. So I got Dustin Poirier 29-28 decision. Fuck, this is my first time picking against Chandler in his UFC run. I want to choose Chandler because I think he can win, but his IQ is almost non-existent, and he's a crowd pleaser. I mean, I don't know, man, because in the Tony Ferguson fight, he got dropped, lost the first round. Or no, in that first round, he went for the takedown and went for the safe option. But sometimes I just, in the Gaethje fight, he just did it too late. And he was winning. He was winning that fight. He won the first round. Obviously lost the second round. Third round, he was winning with the body shots. And then he just put his guard down, started pleasing the crowd, and 8 shots for no reason and lost the fight. Really, I don't know what the hell happened. And then in the Oliveira fight, in my opinion, I think he would have had a better chance at finishing Oliveira if he stood the fight up after dropping Olives for the first time. Should have stood it up and I mean, I wouldn't say it was terrible IQ in that Oliveira fight, but I think it was the wrong move. I think there was a better option to just stand it back up and just keep blasting Oliveira against the fence. And if you keep dropping him over and over, the ref is going to have to stop it. Plus, it was a 10-8 round anyways for a lot of people. But yeah, man, Chandler could win this fight. I can see him. But I don't know. I don't know why I'm thinking that Poirier's just some pushover. Like, you can just take him down. I know Chandler's really powerful with his takedowns. Just threw Tony Ferguson with the underhook, like a throw by, and like controlled him. And Tony Ferguson, I think his guard is a little bit better than Dustin Poirier, but that wasn't prime Tony. So, you know what? I'm going to trust Dustin Poirier to win. I know I said it before, but I'm saying it again. Dustin Poirier, 29-28 decision, war. First time choosing against Chandler. Wow. I was so close to choosing him again, but yeah, this was a really hard one to pick. Carla Esparza versus Zhang Weili. Very easy. We all got to choose Zhang Weili. The thing about Carla is she's just so one-dimensional. All she does is wrestle, and I'm surprised that her style is still alive at the top of strawweight. But there is other specialists too. Like, I know Carla is a specialist, but Marina Rodriguez is a specialist. She doesn't know what, like, her ground game is awful. Yan Xiaonan, Mackenzie Dern. There's a lot of specialists in this weight class. But I do think that the complete fighters, Rose, Zhang Weili, Jessica Andrade, will be taking the throne back, and Zhang Weili is fighting Carla Esparza. So yeah, same for Joanna. That's why Joanna was so successful. She was kind of a specialist, but she does have really good grapple defense. Because the thing about the other specialists like Yan and Marina, they have like almost no ground game. I know Yan did show improved grapple defense against Mackenzie Dern, but it's mainly just balling up, turtling, and just allowing you to just get smashed on the ground by Mackenzie Dern. And Mackenzie Dern on the feet, just getting picked apart by Yan. Crazy stuff. Yang just got smashed by Carla Esparza on the ground. So, Carla Esparza, there's not really the stand-up threat. Zhang Weili really strong, and she could just easily stuff Esparza's takedown, even wrestle with her, and even reverse her position and just smash her just anywhere on the ground. She can submit her or just knock her out on the feet. And I think we're gonna have another, Joanna Jędrzejczyk performance that Joanna just beat the brakes off of her in their first matchup, or on Carla Esparza's first title defense. So unfortunate for her, but history is gonna repeat itself. Like, genuinely, it actually is, because she won the title from Rose, so she won it again from Rose. Her first title defense is gonna be from someone who's really good, not just some specialist, someone that can do everything, Joanna, and really good much better on the feet, powerful. Not Zhang is more powerful, but dangerous, both dangerous on the feet, Zhang and Joanna on the feet, and you're not going to be able to take them down. So yeah, she's going to get, history is showing us that it repeats itself, and I think it's pretty sure money that Zhang Weili is just going to batter her. So yeah, I got Zhang Weili first. Wait, let me check when Joanna finished her. Okay, I see. Zhang Weili via second round TKO, just battering her. Yeah. All right, time for the middleweight championship, the main event, Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. This is another close fight, man. I keep going back and forth. We watched the first two kickboxing, or their only two kickboxing matches, and I think we can all agree that Israel Adesanya won the first matchup, and then the second one, he was winning until he got bombed and knocked out cold. So, earlier, that's why I was thinking, Israel Adesanya is going to win this one. And that's why I was confident earlier. But then, you look at it, and you look at the date when they fought. It was a really long time ago. And you look at their style. You can look at the footage side by side to their most recent fights or more recent fights. And their style has changed. Like, you look at Israel Adesanya, he's much more aggressive back then. His stance was different. Same for Alex Pereira. Maybe not his stance, but the way he used to cover up with his guard and just bomb back and just primarily box. They're much different now. And yeah, they're both really good kickboxers. Even though Alex does have the more credentials, 2 Glory kickboxing world titles in 2 different weight classes. I think that's Glory's first double champ ever. Alex Pereira, middleweight and light heavyweight. That's crazy. But I still do believe that they're on the same level. especially when you saw their matchup. I know I said it was a long time ago, but they both got better, but now they're fighting in MMA in the octagon, and it's much more different. Also, their two kickboxing matches, the experience advantage was really lopsided towards Israel Adesanya. Alex Pereira was more predominantly a boxer. He came from boxing, and I'm pretty sure before that he was like an alcoholic, and he only had like 2 years of experience of kickboxing, and Israel Adesanya had like tons more fights than him, so he had like so much more experience. Plus, on that second fight, I'm pretty sure Alex Pereira took it at short notice, 10 days notice, and I think he was injured or something. I don't know, but yeah, short notice fight. I don't think he was injured, but yeah, I'm not trying to say like his excuses, but yeah, I am using it as excuses of why he wasn't looking as sharp. But I'm just telling you, this fight is much more different. They have a full camp. They're really prepared for each other for mixed martial arts, so this fight is going to be much different, especially when you consider the fact that they're fighting in the octagon. The octagon changes everything. The entire dynamic of the fight changes, and I was thinking about the advantages on who has on each other. Obviously, Israel has more MMA experience than Alex Pereira, so that's the advantage for him. But you know, that happened before with the kickboxing, and Alex could bomb him out again. But looking at the octagon, it honestly, like, this whole switch to MMA, besides the experience, I think is kind of neutral. You look at the octagon, you know, it's bigger. There's less there's more corners. There's no 90-degree corners where you can get really stuck in. So I think that's going to favor the footwork of Israel Adesanya. But the cage is what's going to favor Alex Pereira, because Alex Pereira is most likely going to be the one on the front foot. He's going to be the pressure fighter. He showed that he was doing that against Izzy in their two kickboxing matchups. He was always coming out first, pressuring Israel Adesanya. And every time he would get Israel Adesanya on the ropes, he would try to work his combinations from there. But Israel Adesanya was able to lean back on the ropes. And that's a really... I was watching it, I was like, Israel really likes to rely on pulling shots. Even in MMA still. Like, he pulls on almost everything. And in kickboxing, he was doing that even on the edge of the ropes. So in MMA, he's not going to be able to do that. I'm not saying that he doesn't have any defensive options. He can obviously duck, weave, but the pullback, that's -1 tactic for Israel Adesanya to use, and that's his favorite tactic. So he loses one of his tactics over there, so that's going to help Alex Pereira pressure Israel Adesanya, because the head is going to be right there. And if his head is right there, he's able to use his short punches, his hooks, especially that left hook that he likes. So his hooks in general, and hooks is going to be there now, because in kickboxing, sometimes you would have to throw a straight because he could be pulling. But now he's not going to be able to pull. So yeah, this fight is really interesting, especially for the also the 4-ounce gloves. That's neutral too. It helps Israel Adesanya to pick the guard of Alex Pereira. If he chooses to go to a high guard, he can find shots in between the guard or around the guard. And it also helps Israel Adesanya defensively move out the way of shots, like slipping shots, because the target or the thing that's coming at him, the fists, are smaller now. But for Alex Pereira, he's also getting more accurate, and the power is increasing. So yeah, the whole thing is neutral. The grappling, I say, is neutral because Israel has never shown his offensive grappling, besides throwing up a couple triangles, but he mainly did it as a defense mechanism when he got taken down. But Alex, he actually showed that he has really good takedown defense, or he's able to get up, similar to how Israel Adesanya is able to do. And, you know, I look at Alex Pereira's previous opponents in MMA, like his debut against Michailidis, I think, and Bruno Silva, and I'm looking at their grappling. Their grappling is actually pretty good. I just don't see how Israel Adesanya could have better offensive grappling, especially when he hasn't showed it to us. And if he hasn't ever done it in the cage, how are we going to expect him to do it against Alex Pereira and like the biggest stakes with everything on the line? You know, he doesn't have that in-cage experience to offensively grapple. So I'm not going to really rely on that. Plus, Pereira showed that he has really good defensive grappling. So I don't really think that the takedowns are going to be there for Izzy, but the clinch game, that's going to be a big factor. Now there's going to be no refs to break him up unless they're stalling. especially if they stalled, it would be stalling for like 2 minutes at least. Because in kickboxing, they'll break it immediately. But now they can 30 box. But I haven't really seen Israel Adesanya be able to 30 box. Maybe he could take down Alex Pereira from the clinch from there with his clinch takedowns that he was talking about. But I don't really see it. I can see Alex Pereira getting back up. Also, that kind of helps Alex Pereira if you think about it. The clinch, like he can hold Israel Adesanya in place and just start bombing him. Like that's what I was thinking about Alex Pereira or any power puncher. Just holding your opponent, and because you have that much power, you can start creating damage from short punches, and because you're holding them, they can't move out the way. Especially Israel Adesanya, he relies on movement, which is the best form of defense in my opinion. But when you hold someone and keep them there, they're gonna just have to rely on blocking, and you're able to land more strikes. Like look at Justin Gaethje against anyone when he clinched. What's that? Collar tie uppercuts. He can't move out the way, like just anyone. This is why this fight is so interesting to me, because I don't really see an advantage except for experience for Israel Adesanya. I think, especially Alex Pereira has a really good training partner or coach for MMA, Glover Teixeira, really good grappler himself, and I'm pretty sure they taught him how to clinch strike, elbows. Man, this fight's gonna be close, but game planning wise, the key to beat Alex Pereira, in my opinion, is pressuring, because we've seen people do that. But Israel Adesanya was also able to beat him even on the back foot too. But he was also pressuring Alex Pereira. And every time he would pressure Alex Pereira, that would put him in danger with going into the pocket with Alex and trading punches. And I think kind of don't want to do that when you got knocked out from him before and they're in 4-ounce gloves. He can be more accurate. So that's a big worry for Adesanya. But I could see Adesanya feinting, freezing Alex, and picking him apart from a distance. But at the same time, he's not going to really get away with it like how he does against other people, because Alex is like literally the same stature as him. They both have an 80-inch reach, I believe, or I think Alex has a 79-inch reach. Either way, same thing, both 6'4". Alex can also pick him apart at range, especially with that new stance of Israel Adesanya, the karate stance, because back then his kickboxing stance was much more in. Alex could start picking at his legs, and I think he would do that. I think he could do that. And like I said before, he could pressure Israel Adesanya against the cage and start landing his power shots, especially when other people showed that they can do it before with the double jab. Just jabbing with Israel Adesanya is gonna, I think the jabs are gonna be good. Alex Pereira also has a really good body jab. I don't know if he should really use it, but he can use just any probing weapon to move Israel Adesanya back would be good. Gas tank. I'll give the gas tank to Israel Adesanya. I think he has a better gas tank, but usually he's in slow-paced fights, to be honest. And, Alex did look gassed in his Bruno Silva fight, but there was grappling. It was an intense fight. It was like a dog fight, really small cage, going back and forth. Bruno Silva just kept going on with the pressure, and he kind of paid for it when he got into when Alex clipped him with the left hook coming in. Yeah, man, this fight is good, man. I can see how Alex wins this. He can chew the legs of Israel Adesanya, because I think that's one of the weaknesses of Israel Adesanya, because of that stance, that karate stance. Whitaker showed this before. So kicking the legs of Adesanya, pressuring him with double jabs, pinning him against the fence, kind of like Costa, but Costa's footwork is nowhere near the same as Alex Pereira's. But pressuring him against the fence, double jabs, If he wants to play the distance game, leg kick with him, you could Alex could either even clinch, like if it's getting really hard to hit Israel Adesanya, he can just grab a hold of Izzy, start just letting loose some uppercuts, clinch striking, dirty boxing. I hope he does that, because I can see him being a really, really good clinch striker, even though like in kickboxing, you think of him, he's a kickboxer, much more finesse in his striking, but dude, that works. Just grab that freaking head and start blasting it. He can't move his head when you're holding on to it. Plus, you know where to punch. You're going to land all of your shots to his face because you have one hand holding on his head. For Israel Adesanya to win, distance, feinting, and just the footwork in general. But he could also use the grappling, because come on, you've been in MMA for how long? I think for like years and years. Man, this is a really close fight, and I keep going back and forth, but I do think Alex Pereira is going to win. And I'm going to go with Alex Pereira by 48-47 decision. I think the rounds that he wins is when he hurts Israel Adesanya. But I do think Izzy is going to be able to, survive. He could either shoot for a takedown if he wants to, but I don't know, man, because I don't know, because Glover Teixeira is a really good top player, so you assume that Alex Pereira would know how to play on top. So I don't know if you really want to do that. I can see Israel surviving. I can see him moving with the shots, but I do see him getting clipped sometimes. And the judging criteria is damage over everything. So I think Alex is going to be able to edge out 3 rounds. Same for Izzy. Izzy can be able to edge out 3 rounds, but I'm just going to go with Alex Pereira just because of that power and that stance of Israel. Yeah, Israel has a really good chance. It's 50-50. So yeah, I got Alex Pereira, 48-47 decision. It's going to be a good one. I can't wait.